Hey, Victoria.
Oh, by the way, I'll cut this part out. Let me know any part you'd like cut out. Just say, hey, cut this part out, and when I'm watching it, I'll make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not used to censorship, but I'll consider it.
Okay. To include this part.
Yeah, this part too. Yeah.
Okay.
I like this part so far. But right on. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, yeah, you talked about medical freedom. So, how would you like to start?
As an intro, just because some of the people on your show don't know who I am, I'm Daryl Becker. I am a licensed acupuncturist living here on the Big Island of Hawaii. And I got into health and medicine because I had medical problems back when I was 20, lots of allergies and things, and that sent me in the direction of finding real answers to it. Because I also had allergies during my teen years and really just got, I would say, like really crap medical care in terms of they didn't make things worse, but they just dished out medicines like Benadryl and eventually other antihistamine medicines and completely useless. I guess it was like the skin prick test to see what I was allergic to, allegedly, the as far as the exterior environment, and then taking those things that I was testing as allergic to, like things like cat and dog hair and dust and things like that and mold, and then they would mix that up into some type of injectable and then inject that into my little arm back when I was a teenager. Um, and no, that didn't help. That did not help, nor and the allergy medicine, of course. Oh, it will stop you from having runny nose, but you know, at a great cost of like also your consciousness. You get really tired on most antihistamines, or at least a little bit tired. It alters your perception and consciousness, and Benadryl is really well known for that. So I was 20. I was in Vermont. I had just stopped my like the college track that I was on. I was doing the whole Bachelor of Arts thing, but I had no reason why should I get a Bachelor of Arts? I like there was not a compelling reason to finish it. But there was a compelling reason to find someone to help my health out. So I found a chiropractor to help like actually someone who was into holistic healthcare and in like one treatment, I went to see this guy, and he like I have no, of course, at that point I was a young man, so I had no idea what he was doing. And I went in with allergies on the day of my appointment, and I went out without them. And all I knew is I had purchased a alcohol tincture of licorice root, and that I was feeling better, but I didn't understand the mechanisms of what he did and how it worked. Until about 6 years later, when he invited me to join his practice and be his assistant and learn from him directly in his clinic. And that's what I did when I was 26. And I did that for 4 years working with him. I also went through acupuncture college because he obviously showed me the light, which is most people like you, Victoria, and everyone else, you honestly feel safer when you're with someone who's got a official license or something like that in the medical world. Someone who's been through some type of official training, not just an apprenticeship like what I was doing, but an actual collegiate thing, like to show that I could actually show up for exams and pass tests and do all those things basically. And that's what I did. I went all the way through medical college and got my license of acupuncture, which is a pretty big scope of practice. And it's been 27 years now of practicing medicine for money. And yeah, I got obviously like you and a lot of people, I had a taste for the need for medical freedom when I was seeing all the people 5 years ago, 4 years ago getting bullied or pushed into taking various what are called vaccines, the various COVID vaccines and things like that, just for keeping their job or being able to fly or whatever it is, or staying in their family without like having arguments or fights or whatever the reasons were. That was not medical freedom. That was for sure tyranny like the velvet glove around the steel robot hand inside that glove, just like basically grabbing people and like showing them that they better conform. That was the opposite of medical freedom. But yeah, I mean, I guess I do have like I would have to say like freedom is one thing, but like then there's the just medical options, effective medical options. I was hoping to really touch into that one because that's the big deal. And best I know about you, Victoria, is being young and stuff, you're not really suffering under some medical conditions that like really hurt you. Like you didn't really have to go and seek help. Most of the time, like you're moving soon, but like you've had your fun and time in Mexico, and I think I knew you spend time in California, but you haven't had to like deal with, I would say, like lifelong medical things that like pushed you into the business like it did for me. That stuff pushed me into the business. It like basically said, would you like to figure this out? You can suffer or you can figure this out. And there was a lot of, that was pre-internet, by the way. So like when I got into medicine, there really was no way to look this stuff up and understand things. So it's been a lot more actual effective options that I love to talk about and, you know, segue into that kind of thing.
Let's segue.
Yeah. Oh, like right into it, like what are effective options? So, what do you think of when you think of effective medical options? What comes to mind?
Effective medical options. Are we talking more mainstream, like Big Pharma, or are we talking more about like what I've learned since the past couple of years, learning about all
Oh,
of
it's
this?
both, really. You know,
Hmm.
I think I'm open to everything. Like medicine is a big tent. Holistic and so-called alternative medicine is under that tent.
Yeah. I would say it first started out with learning about free energy. I actually learned about free energy first with copper, electroculture, gardening. And then with gardening, it segued into herbal medicines, which I'm still like, I don't even know if I'm basic. I'm still learning that. I would say I learned that barefoot grounding is really helpful to release static electricity. I actually used to take Tylenol PM, Excedrin PM all the time in the military. I used to get constant headaches every single day. So I realized I need to detox my kidneys. I need to detox my body. Plus, I got a lot of shots. Got a lot of shots from everywhere in the military and even not in the military. I learned I learned about the berries for heavy metal detoxing. I just started learning that nature actually has a lot of remedies. They have a lot of the cures that, and Big Pharma uses quite a lot of nature's remedies as well. They put it into a lot of their own medicine. But yeah, I stopped losing my own headaches. I started eating better and feeling better. I started having way more energy throughout the day. But yeah, like you had allergies, I didn't have allergies. I don't know if my body just kind of decided to save that sickness for a later date, but I was so disconnected physically from my body. Um, and then just topping it with Tylenol, Excedrin. So I'd say, yeah, medical remedies. I eat much healthier. I've drank raw goat milk, veggies and fruits, fruit fast, veggie fast, even beef broth fast, different types of fasts just to cleanse out my body. I did a 21-day water fast, which was really interesting. Do you want to? I can cut this part out, but I can tell you how many times I pooped throughout that time. I don't mind. I don't
Well,
mind.
just sure, say it.
So, okay, day 1 through day 4, Day 4 was the last day that I pooped in the water fast. And by the way, it's only water, only water. And I was getting water from a spring in Washington State. So no pooping at all from day 4 to day 21. And then I broke it with a pineapple on day 22. Within an hour, my body was reacting so strongly to the pineapple.
That's a
I,
strong medicine to break a water fast with.
yeah,
Not strong food, you know?
yeah, it
But
was really
I
strong.
mean, there's easier ways, but it could have
It
been
definitely
worse though. It could have been a
cleansed.
burger. But
Oh gosh, yeah, glad it wasn't. But yeah, I pooped 3 times on day 22. I pooped 7 times within 3 days. And I realized I had heard a podcast that people actually release pounds from their intestines after like a 21-day water fast. And yeah, I realized that I was hearing that food that I don't you're more scientific than I am, but food that kind of sticks along the ends of the intestine just stays there. If you're eating like pasta, burgers, things like that, pizza, anything that is any food that is less than 70% of water is dehydrating us. So
hmm.
these are some of the basic medical remedies that I found for myself, but I'm remaining humble and being open to learn more, and then also learning to be more disciplined, just
I
with
think what
myself.
you were touching on is covered in what's called wellness or promoting health and wellness from what's already going on. And that's really important. And of course, you can actually treat things with these methods like a water fast and like going out barefoot and being grounded. This is helpful. Being, out here in the sun, which I plan to get out into after this show, but all of those things are part of what promotes health. And then there's the issue of people who have profound medical problems, the folks who are my clients, for example. Some of them more profound than others with their problems. And, you didn't get the allergies like I got. I didn't get the headaches that you got. Everyone has a different weak links in their health chain. And the weak links are those like what I call it, like that's the symptoms, the way it manifests, what you're aware of, and then other things that you can do more subtle diagnostics to find out what else is going on. So the thing about holistic and effective holistic healthcare is that there are a lot of options that can lead you to finding a professional to solve the problem. And there's only like three choices I think of when there's health problems. Become the health professional and learn to be really proficient at delivering healthcare for yourself, which is the most challenging person to ever deliver healthcare for is yourself, because you're really close to the problem. And usually you are part of the problem or a large part of the problem. And there are all kinds of things that can be in the way of effective self-treatment. Physician, heal thyself. I'm sure you might have heard that expression. That's pretty old. It goes back to, I guess it would be Greek, Hippocrates. And um, I'm saying that like, yeah, that's a great idea in theory, but that's a challenging thing. The second way, of course, is finding an effective holistic healthcare professional or effective healthcare professional in general. And now you're trusting on them to help you get from where you are to what your health goals are, if you say it in the positive. And of course, there's the third option, which is just do a bad job of both. Not treat a bad job of treating yourself, doing the same thing and expecting different results. Just basically not really changing anything. The same types of doctors who make things worse or don't help getting anything better, and the same ineffective self-care methods. It's always an option. I don't recommend it. Like I think everyone understands already what that's like and what it's like to live with that. So yeah, for a while I was doing my show, and I'm going to go back to making my show not medical advice, where I get to say all this kind of stuff to people like you. because I can't say this kind of stuff to my clients because it honestly with clients I have to focus on them, their problem, and get the results. And I can give an example of what the obstacles to that could be. Like basically like where I have to show them that I can help with them get things feeling a little bit better or showing some, what's that called? Relief from some of the bad symptoms that they want to have go away. The harder part is to show them that they're causing their symptoms, frequently by their diet. And I have a bunch of clients who are devotees of Hare Krishna. And the problem is, this means that they are devoted to maintaining a destructive diet of vegetarianism, that they're taking in a lot of carbohydrates frequently, that they are not taking in the animal fats and the animal proteins that are needed. They are allegedly not allowed to have eggs. Um, so almost all their protein is coming from dairy as far as animal protein. And that's a pretty difficult food to turn into healthy pieces of your body. I mean, it's not simple for many people. Like, there's a lot of people around the world where, you know, based on ancestry and other aspects of what's happened to the body, their body can't really handle dairy very well at all. It's just a stupid food. Um, then I have the clients who are completely open-minded and they try all kinds of things, including carnivore and keto type diet, the ketogenic diet, where they're in ketosis, where they limit the sugars of all kinds. And that is generally what I see help most people. It's not the answer immediately to everything. There can be other factors going on. For sure, lifestyle stress things, carnivore and keto alone are not going to remove the fact that, you know, mental, emotional thoughts, feelings kind of stuff impacts and creates the health that a person experiences. You know, like that is a huge component of what's going on. But for sure, like the foods that go in, that's a component of it. So in helping people, the people who are close by, I can just get them right into the clinic and do my best to show them what I have got, what I can do, and have like real honest discussions about how long do I get a chance to help them. Sometimes they're only on the Big Island for a short time, so I have one chance to help them, and that's it. And that's it. And sometimes they're just miserable with their health problems, and we have to be realistic about how many chances do I get to help them. Is it really just one chance? Or do I get at least three visits chances? Can I like, I mean, with hardcore things, seeing them once a week sometimes feels honestly not enough. But like once a week is the common thing that I get to see people for real. And then there's folks like you who are far away. And then I get to write a whole report based on our interview and everything and all my questions and filling out a new patient form to figure out how to help you from where you are to where you want to get to, including finding you a professional right there. So finding you professionals to build your own effective health team, that's a thing. That's what I'm writing the book, Not Medical Advice, all about, and I'm almost done with it. It'd be perfect if I had it ready for like to send you your copy, but it's not quite there ready yet. But essentially the idea is there are a lot of books out there to, you know, allegedly and sometimes hopefully focus on a modality that you could learn yourself and then DIY your own health back into alignment. And that's awesome. And like if it works, you know, that's great if it works. Not so awesome
Yes.
if it does not work. You know, it's and also if you're struggling, if you're already in pain and like in terms of symptoms, illness, and injury are just front and center in your mind from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. That's a hard place to learn to. It's a hard place to become a practitioner, and it's also a hard place to be really rational about thinking about things. You know, like that. That's why realistic expectations are necessary. Like to say, you give a professional a certain number of chances to show you that they're helping you. So you're understanding your time, your money that you're spending, like what's the impact? What's the results that you're getting from this? And yeah, I became a licensed acupuncturist, but can you guess what kind of professional I usually find for people? Because it's not an acupuncturist usually. No, it's not. Because they're not like me, usually. I know I didn't really talk about this. That's a tough question. That's an expensive question. I'll help you. It is the chiropractor type that I started training with first. This is an applied kinesiologist, clinical kinesiologist, someone who knows all about the muscle testing. They know more than 200 muscles that they can isolate and test. In learning that, they also learned other methods of testing, and that this all goes under the bigger tent, this tent called dowsing or subtle energy diagnostics. If you've heard people dowsing for water, where to drill for your well, dowsing
Mhm.
is applied to anything. It's your universal cheat code for this universe if you can accurately apply it. There are pendulums used for dowsing rods used for dowsing, and of course, the muscle test itself is a form of dowsing. That this is a subtle energy feedback loop. And there are, as I've learned, other methods of testing, respiratory testing, range of motion testing. There's all these ways that you can sort of triangulate and try to see, does this work? Does it help? Does it hurt them? Does this work? Does it help? Does it hurt them? Over and over again, those are the questions that I keep checking with my clients. I'm trying to find out, does it help the problem? Is it compatible with them? Does it hurt them? And what else is it doing potentially? So when you mentioned herbal medicine, it's the funny thing about this, herbal medicine is a gray market area. So when we're talking about economics, there's, white market, like an acupuncturist is in the white market. You have to pass all these exams, and every year, I just paid for my license for another 2 years. You're in the system, and you're taxed, you are like fully regulated, you have a scope of practice. That's the white market. That's fully regulated. The gray market is herbalism. There is no actual, I mean, there are certificates that you can win. You can even get doctorates in types of herbalism and things like that. Certainly in traditional Chinese medicine, like has doctorate programs that would go, like and say now you can show that you have all of this, you've spent all of this absurd amount of time inside of a college and passing various tests. You're very obedient. You really, you followed directions. You followed through. So that's counting for something, right? You know, um, Honestly, anyone can set up and be an herbalist, and you don't need a license for herbalism. You do, unfortunately, in many countries to practice acupuncture. As you can tell, I'm kind of against white market and that type of government monopoly regulations in general, because what it does is it takes all these options, like here's all your herbalists out there right now, like lots of them, and then in terms of acupuncturists, people like the countries where people can practice without a license, oh, it's constricted to down to just only the few people who could go through tens of thousands of dollars of education, schooling, and the testing themselves, which cost a lot of money, by the way. And then just keep paying for that license over and over again, just like people do for their driver's license, just like people do for their car registration. You get an idea for this, right? Like all of these things are just constrictions. Herbalism is incredibly much more dangerous to practice than acupuncture, and people don't usually know that. Acupuncture as a discipline, you're setting needles. You just make sure to not puncture the lungs or internal organs or anything else that's vital, and you're good to go. These tiny needles go around usually the capillaries. That's why you put them in, put the needle in, take the needle out, and usually not even a drop of blood. Sometimes a drop of blood, but most of the time, no. No, most of the time, not. Not unless you're specifically aiming to be doing a bleeding type therapy. There are a lot of tricks to acupuncture, but for the most part, similar to homeopathy, this is a subtle energy medicine, just affecting the subtle energies of things. And there's a lot there's so there's subtle, and now that then we go back to herbology, then there's chemical. So that is changing the chemistry with herbology and various other nutraceutical supplements. That's what they're called now, nutraceuticals. They've been called that for a while. But basically, supplements, various vitamins, minerals, and natural constituents that are pharmaceutically refined and put into capsule or liquid, gel cap, etc., tablet, and they're concentrated to take that power that they had originally from the plant or mineral or animal substance and just amp it up a bit, you know. And then, of course, there's formulas, putting them together. I made the claim, I said herbology is far more dangerous than acupuncture, or for sure homeopathy. Can you imagine why I said that?
It leaves room for the person to try out things, but if they're not exactly sure, like the combinations, like what you said, the combinations of things, or it could lead them to accidentally harm a part of their body that they're not aware of. Um, is that
Yeah, if you take the wrong medicine that's not appropriate, it's not biocompatible to you, the impact is going to continue and continue and continue. If you set the wrong needles, like wrong, I could use wrong in air quotes. If you set needles that are not, I would say, traditionally used for the client's condition, okay? What does an acupuncture needle do? It's just basically set. The needle is metal. It is both transmitting and reflecting energy. That's what metal does. The rest of the body is not metal. Most of the skin and muscles is not metals, with a few exceptions. The bones are metal. The bones are in the periodic table of metal, calcium, strontium, boron, etc. Mostly that's why it's such a rigid structure. It's metals. Um, the hemoglobin, the iron in the red blood cells, that's metal. You have metal in the hemoglobin moving around the bones. Metal. Metal moving around metal, just like in the alternator in the car. That's an electromagnetic field. The acupuncture needle is to change the frequency of that. Similar to taking a homeopathic medicine, the subtle energies put into water or a sugar pill, that subtle energies to change the frequency of what's going on. You set an acupuncture needle, it either helps them or it doesn't. But once you take the needle out, it's no longer doing that thing anymore. You take an herbal medicine, it's now continuing to do that thing until it runs its course all the way through the person's body. That is far more of a responsibility to get it right. I can set needles all day long and just generally help people and occasionally not do that much. But generally speaking, not cause a problem. You know, that's usually not the deal. Um, I think you learn, of course, through acupuncture college and clinical experience how to make things better. Health is a mystery. What can I say? All of this stuff is in the realm of we don't have enough Daryl laboratory institutes going on to like check out every variable that's going on with there's just no way. Everyone who's saying that they're doing something effective is guessing because, you know, the impact of each person to create their own reality with their thoughts and feelings and all of what they've been doing every single day to themselves is that's like the giant flywheel that's just like the momentum that's pushing in a certain direction. So yeah, that's why I said that. Um, I am for sure. Did this make you curious for any questions yet?
I'm like wowed. I'm wowed. I've
I mean, I
learned
could go
so
on
much.
forever, but like I love a discussion sometimes too, and like I just stop right here for a moment and say, wait, did that inspire, I don't know, some type
Oh,
of curiosity?
I don't know why, but I mean, maybe I know why, but mushrooms came to mind in regards to herbal medicine. Yeah. Do you have an opinion on herbal on on mushrooms?
I think you're speaking psilocybin mushrooms in this case.
Like turkey tail,
Oh no,
lion's
turkey
mane,
tail mushrooms. Oh, okay.
turkey tail, lion's
Um,
mane, or like have you seen any of this in your practice? Or
yeah,
like,
I like cordyceps a lot. I I think the polysaccharides of mushrooms seem to be like the one of the constituents that a lot of the labs and medical professionals point to as that's like the big deal about them, and having them extracted with hot water or not, having them like just the mycelium or just the fruiting body or both. I think that as far as I can tell, that's all good medicine, and just now it needs to be applied appropriately. So yeah, they
oh,
all have their own impacts, I would say, like that, like an herbal medicine. That's calling it herbal, but it's, in this case, it's mushroom medicine.
may I
There are a lot
say?
of,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Did you want to continue with mushrooms? I'll cut this part
No,
out,
I
but do
think
you
I
want
said
to?
enough on it. Yeah.
What are some common and or recurring trends of illness you have seen in your clients?
I would say inflammation style illnesses such as, I would say, radiating pain frequently from low back is like really, really common. Um, uh, Injuries that are going arthritic, knees especially, those are common. And I see them, I do my best to treat them. I try to plant seeds about the dietary things that could probably help reverse the condition and get them back to health. Um, And like I mentioned earlier in the show, some clients are more adaptable to changing their actual diet, and some clients are less adaptable. They are married to their lifestyle. They're fully committed to just staying the same course, basically.
What
Uh,
are some what are some common trends you see in kind of not just your clients, but maybe the population or Americans, it could be the world. Some things you find not many people would be aware of. And yeah, have you worked with anything that you can think of off the top of your head?
yeah, I think that the trend has been more people having access to a wider array of information. So that's been the trend of people, at the very least, grasping that, most people, I don't know, I'm gonna take a guess, especially like 50 years and old and younger, have already figured out that they better go to the doctor as like to a regular orthodox medical doctor as infrequently as possible, that they just try to avoid it. And they either know this intuitively, just like subconsciously, or they know it as a fact from watching doctors hurt family members or themselves. So they kind of know that. And then therefore they're trying to DIY everything themselves for their own health and for themselves and their family. That's been a trend, and kind of like a trend of more people just not trusting government, more people not trusting authorities in general, more people not trusting the media. There's some trends, that just keep going. And that they all go together, these sources of authority. Old people still stuck in their ways, old dog, no new tricks, doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's them. That's old people, but not all of them. For sure, a bunch of my clients are in that demographic. They're geriatric. That means 70 plus years old. And yeah, they're just they already know the dangers of getting hurt by doctors. They've already been hurt by them multiple times. They can identify that. So the trend has been to try to look up all these different therapies, medicines. There's so many that I haven't even started. There's uh, these cells that need to die in the body and get removed, basically part of the waste system, like what you were doing with water fasting. And there's medicines that actually increase that, like that increase the removal of toxins from the body. There's, I'm just starting to look into that. I'm gonna have to look up this medicine in a moment because it's something I haven't yet tried. But there's things like methylene blue that I've started to look into, but I'm finding I struggle to find quality information that's effectively, I would say, both cutting and skeptical, and at the same time, not like towing the establishment line. So all the time, I do have people coming in to make me aware of some type of medicine that I have not heard of before, or some type of therapy I've not heard of before. And then, of course, there's like ones that are older than me. So like I've heard of these methods, but I still might not know enough about them. I think that people are like more empowered to find their own path to get to their health goals. I wish people would actually say it that way instead of trying to get rid of symptoms they don't want, basically, to like remove that. The symptoms are their body trying to fix things. That's unfortunate, but it's accurate. Symptoms, pain, the allergies I had, the headaches that you had. It's the body trying to pinpoint and deal with things and change stuff. And that's the body actually is trying to fix everything. Problem is, you keep adding the wrong toxins, whether it is food, medicine, thoughts, various emotional patterns, electromagnetics, the environment, the lifestyle. There's a need for meaning and purpose to one's life. If all of those things are not tended to, like in the positive way, the symptoms happen. And more people are now empowered to deal with those symptoms. I think what I like about health goals is similar to say like my weightlifting goals. Like weightlifting goals this year, just get back to where I was last year because I just recovered from surgery. So I all I have to do is just get back to where I was before without hurting myself. That's all I have to do. And then 2026, well, then I can set new goals like that. But for the most part, just do my thing and like continue to just have fun with it. Because that's why I do lifting. That's why I do jujitsu. It's why I like to go to a yoga class. It's why I like to do qigong. It's like these things are fun and they're social. They're social events, basically. Um, I think that there's a lot more empowerment, but I would love to people to like put a pin in this one to say, make real health goals. And the health goals are to say that in the positive, to say no more headaches or something like that. That's not saying it in the positive. What you want is to say, wake up and feel, and then you fill in the blank with positive adjectives and such like that. That's a health goal. You want to wake up and have energy, to be able to run, maybe start to take a run. A gift my birthday present I got this year, I got some very nice modern running shoes with the wide toe bed. So like the toes are not all cramped up like in one little space kind of thing. So it's all spread out and wide. Um, and yeah, they look kind of funny that way. They're comfortable And like the idea is like to say, okay, the goal is let me see if I can actually run a half mile. Let me see if I can run a mile. I haven't done like those distances, like as far as a run, since probably I was a teenager, because that's when I was doing things like cross country, where it's a 3 mile race for doing the meet, and then there's actually, practices where you're just probably running more than 3 miles, but not in a continuous, like one thing. And that was like, that's a long time ago. The body changes. Now I'm 53. Now, like, everything is all like, yeah, like the body has very specific requests that it makes very, very obvious to people, to me.
Happy birthday. Well,
Thank
happy
you.
late birthday, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, I made it another year.
I did want to add that because you definitely do not look 53 or the average 53-year-old in today's time,
I
which is
appreciate that. Yeah. I work on longevity medicine and my health, and at the very least, the appearance part, I can do some of that. I think that, like I said before, everyone has different health links, and I think like you could even say financial health is a link. So I for sure know guys who are my age, and man, do they look like Santa. They are old. They chose to go the whole, like the things like this all gray, but also the full on gray beard thing. Um, my opinion is that, you could shift all of that by shaving it off. Like you could, just to start with, I don't know how important it is to have long hair, but I think that if you're already balding, I do understand like the aesthetics of cutting it all off, and I don't think it's a horrible thing to be bald at all. I think obviously a lot of people can look good like that, but their financial health can be a lot more effective than mine, some people. And they could also have like something like a multi-decade relationship stability that I don't have. There's a lot of things that like are constitute health. I think it's good for people to expand the idea that it's not just the physical body, which is like a component of it, but it's the spirit. It's, like how what's called the Shen in Chinese medicine. What's this? That's the consciousness spirit.
hmm,
The one that in Chinese medicine, the theory is it resides in the heart, that specific way of the mind consciousness. They don't like have any of these ascribed to the brain, by the way. They have various five aspects of the consciousness ascribed to the five yin organs of the body. Um,
wow.
it's, I know it's interesting, like stuff like that. And you know what's even weirder is the evidence in this reality that adds up to point in that direction. To have um a lot of like basically like when you have in Chinese medicine, there's a thing called the circadian clock. There's an image you could put up on screen. That would be fun if you're able to do that one. But the circadian clock goes through every 2 hours a different meridian, and it goes through the 12 major meridians. So starts off 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. the lung meridian. They call the lung meridian, and in Chinese, actually, it is the hand big yin, hand tai yin. Yeah, that's the big hand yin energy. And that's like describing what the function of it is. But then, translating into English, they named it after the one of the major organs that this meridian penetrates, called the lungs. And now they just call it the lung meridian. So people think, oh, lungs, it's just all lungs, breathing, respiration, etc. But it's a lot more than that because it actually penetrates several other places as well. And so, there's 3 to 5 a.m. that it goes to like so you wake up and you're doing your qigong breathing. This is according to traditional Chinese medicine. You're 3 a.m. and you're doing all of your exercises. Or if it was your Ayurvedic sadhana practice, your Kundalini wake up 3 a.m. sadhana practice early in the morning, doing all of your cleansing and exercises and things like that. And then 5 to 7 a.m., that's the large intestines. And now that's when you take a dump. That's when that moves out of you like that. And then letting go. When the large intestine's in balance, it likes to be in balance, and so it lets everything go. When it's not in balance, when it's out of balance, it's clinging and holding on unnecessarily to stuff like waste and or resentment in the emotional sphere. And then it moves to
Wow.
the Islamic meridian. Now it's time to eat food, you know, like nine to 11, and I'm sorry, like was it seven to nine, eating food and then digesting the food. 9 to 11, that's the spleen meridian. And then 11 to 1, that's it moves into the heart meridian. And it keeps going from there all the way around till eventually it's winding down time of 7 to 9 and like PM and 9 to 11. Now it's hopefully going to sleep soon or already asleep. And then 11 to 1, now it's in the gallbladder meridian, dealing with any other digestions and things of that nature. And 1 to 3 a.m., we're at the end of the whole thing. I just skipped past a bunch of meridians, I know. But like that's 1 to 3 a.m., that's the liver meridian. That's the time to hopefully be asleep. And this is why liver damage happens when you're awake during liver time and you're doing damaging liver activities like alcohol, you know, or you're working third shift and taking in caffeine and you're awake when you should be asleep, you know, that kind of damages. So the symptoms happen at the time of usually that meridian or 12 hours away from it on the other side of it. You could have symptoms like that's a flip to it because they're all paired up together, you know. These meridians are paired in little groups of a yin meridian, of a yin meridian like the lung, and a yang meridian like the large intestine, and that's in the element of metal. You learn all this basic stuff by going through acupuncture college. And my advice to people watching and listening is don't go to acupuncture college. Not unless you're young, you're so that you're not, I would say, abusing, wasting parts of your life, or you're older, but you're very wealthy and you're not going into debt. A modern course of acupuncture college can run you more than $60,000, up to 100+ thousand dollars. That's a lot of money. And if you're
Mhm.
going into debt, now you have like, I'm sure you must understand what interest is like on debt. That stuff just, you could be paying this off until like you'll never get it paid off, some people. That's not good. Meanwhile, all of this information is free. You know, YouTube and other places like that. And this all everything I just said about how meridians work and everything like that. There's tons of channels out there. I'm sure a bunch on YouTube, but probably also Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey and other freedom locations like that, showing how to do everything, how to pass up the board exams, everything that's on them, how to be in clinic, how to set needles, how to choose herbal formulas based on appropriate signs and symptoms. There's everything I just said. Why would you want to go into debt? And I know why. You want to go into debt if you're watching and listening because you want the piece of paper. You want the recognition. You want the license, you know? Um, I get it. You want to feel trusted by people. You were taught to trust authorities, and now you're following authorities to do what they told you to do. Yeah, I did that too. That's why I went through Oriental Medical College and got my license. I just now would counsel people to consider not doing that. Yeah, I would rather people become a life coach. I'd rather people become an herbalist. I'd rather people become I guess like find whatever it is that you want to join the club that you want. The best way to learn is to apprentice with someone who's effective in doing what you want to do. That's what you'd want to do. So the problem often is people are, I would say, for good reason, cautious about how they spend their time and money. And not a lot of acupuncturists are going to allow apprentice to join them in their practice as to have an assistant. To not every client wants to have an assistant in the room or an apprentice, someone who's learning. Um, I think it helps if they look like you, but in general, they're people they have sensitive issues that they are ready to bring up to their medical provider alone, and they don't always want to disclose it to someone they don't know and trust, know and like and trust. And that takes time to build up the know, like, and trust, the KLT, as I keep mentioning here and there. Know, like, and
Yeah.
trust. And and so yeah, like some people like you have the charisma, you can gain the know, like, and trust quickly from someone, or at least they'll like you, and then eventually trust. They'll trust you. Um, I think like I understand like wanting to get the piece of paper or a doctorate, like to get a to become doctor of chiropractic or some other discipline that actually helps people, that doesn't necessarily hurt people like medical doctors frequently do. Um, or just even to fully go into becoming a medical doctor, like a licensed MD, and actually being determined to help people and not hurt them. Um, Direct primary care is the kind that I recommend people find. Direct primary care physician, these are medical doctors that don't generally take insurance. They are actually incentivized by money and the love of their clients, the actual caring for their clients to get results. Like the same kind of way that people fix the car and fix the house. Yeah, you show up with real money and then people try to get results. And if you get results, you keep getting paid as the practitioner. And if hopefully if you're smart and you're the one who's paying, you're getting the results, you keep paying and going to the same person. You stop getting results or you're never getting them in the first place, move on. You move on to the next person. And when it comes out to healthcare, I think everyone gets to choose like what are you going to learn to do? Like I know like you learned how to do water fasting and how, you'll probably continue to learn how to do other things. I'm not sure there's all kinds of other therapies. I would say like, so for example, coffee enemas, for example, I don't know, a lot of people know of urine therapy. There's a lot of methods that are, I would say wellness and self-care, and apply them correctly and you're going to do great. Um, but obviously there's ways to hurt yourself with anything. Um, and some things are softer than others, like I mentioned with herbal medicine and acupuncture. Like they're like polar opposites for softness.
Were
Isn't
there
it weird
any?
like that? You need a license to get money from someone to practice acupuncture, but you don't need a license to practice and it's kind of challenging to hurt someone with acupuncture, like as long as you literally don't puncture their lungs or some important organ. And then you don't need a license to practice herbalism, and it's really super easy to hurt someone by dispensing the wrong, inappropriate medicines that's not biocompatible to them. They have an allergic, I would say metabolic antagonistic response to it. They could die, you know.
It seems
And you didn't
that way.
catch that because you don't know how to attach that. I mean, that's like one of the first things I learned in year one of my training. That's why I recommend people to go to a chiropractor who knows applied and clinical kinesiology or associated related arts of dowsing, essentially. And they're going to figure out, is this nutraceutical medicine, this supplement, this natural herbal formula or single medicine actually appropriate or is it going to cause problems? Do they have a way of testing that? My acupuncturist brethren don't have that usually. They usually don't learn muscle testing. They usually don't learn anything about applied and clinical kinesiology. And how could you blame them? When you go through that many hours of school, of college basically, like school on top of school, and that many hours cramming information in to spit it back out into exams during your school time, and then finally for the board exam to get to your license, where's the time? Where's the time to learn about new disciplines or other medical disciplines? They have a life. They have like their own health. They have their own relationships that they would prefer. They'd like to have a human experience, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
not just a purely medical experience. So they don't know. They did learn how to do testing of the pulses to see before, during, and after taking a supplement, for example. But most people never use pulse diagnosis that way. I find it slow and cumbersome compared to muscle testing or respiratory testing, which is even faster. I think that that's why, like when I talk to acupuncturists, they're wizards really good with, again, like achieving good results sometimes, or sometimes even often, with very gentle acupuncture, with massage, with really like, gentle methods basically, and then maybe throwing in some herbal medicine. I also know too many acupuncturists who don't use any herbal medicine because it was all confusing and it didn't make any damn sense. And I think deep down they knew that there's no rhyme and reason. You can't have a protocol like that you read in your books apply to an individual who could literally have an antagonistic response to just one ingredient in a formula. You need a way to catch that antagonistic response before it actually erupts into a problem. I mean, so they just avoid the whole damn thing. Then there's the people who they are dispensing medicine and they get so-so results. And that's frustrating to them, but they still keep trying. And sometimes they get good results. It's shooting like this. It's like this. This is where they're like they have no methodology for like someone who's fixing a car or a house, this house here. They're fixing things. They measure twice and then they cut. They measure and they go and buy materials. They measure and they cut and fit the materials just so. They measure and get the right part and fit it into the car and take off the bad part and put on the new part. They don't guess. This is not like guesswork for them. And that's what medicine needs to be for my clients. So if I'm going to send someone to a client, one of my clients on the mainland to a professional, I'm going to send them to a chiropractor who knows applied and clinical kinesiology. Uh, Either or, honestly. Frequently, I can find applied kinesiologists more often because that's the more popular one. Hard to find clinical kinesiologists. There's less of them out there. And I know how to find this website to look them up. So that's what my book is about. Just like how to find these professionals and why. And I list them each in the various order, where first you find someone, the chiropractor who's an applied kinesiologist, and they can actually test everything. And they can not just put the spine back in alignment, but for sure, they can be testing foods and herbs and medicines, all kinds of, including the pharmaceuticals, anything, to see what's the impact. This is part of being accountable as a professional. Intentions are nice. Impact is what counts. Oh, you intended nice things with this supplement, right? Like the idea to reduce cholesterol because that was the story, right? The story of the cholesterol is causing problems that it could clog the arteries, that's the offending substance, right? So that's wrong. right there, as I had to learn. The reality, of course, is that the liver makes cholesterols because it's a component in all tissues, the nervous system, the brain, hormones, etc. Only the most vital systems, period, repairing all cell tissues in general. And dietary cholesterols are helpful for adding to what the liver makes. You can't just have the liver make everything, not unless you're one of those breatharian Tartarians living in a structure where the mana of the stones just gives you all the nutrients you need and you have no waste products. But that's fiction until we find otherwise. Okay. Like I still like to believe. I'm an open-minded guy, but as you can tell. But for most of us, we take in foods and liquids. So, that's why I like to point in that. Um, I like I like sending people to the mastermind. That's what I call an applied kinesiologist. That someone to the first member of their healthcare team. The next member depends. If they're in a lot of pain, I could very much consider sending them to an acupuncturist. The magic of setting needles just the right way can reduce the inflammation and thus make the pain less, or maybe even make it go away. That's part of it. I I might need more lab tests, and I might need access to a greater variety of supplements or other treatments. So I might send them to a naturopathic doctor with some important rules to go along with how to use these professionals. Naturopathic doctor, that's ND, they have a very expensive practice frequently. Their malpractice is a lot more expensive than mine, so they charge a lot more than I do. Like, sometimes getting in the door to a naturopathic doctor is a couple $100 just to see them. And on top of that, they have a desire and legit desire to make money and the legit desire to help people. There's the weight, right? Intentions help people. Um, then there's the impact. They could sell a lot of supplements or attempt to sell them. So when I send my clients to a naturopathic doctor, I'm giving them the caveat to have it in writing or, you know, someone that you trust that you can get in a verbal, an ability to sell back any supplements you buy from them that are unopened and unused. So then you could take those supplements over to the chiropractor who tests them to see if they're biocompatible, to see if they help you, to see if they hurt you. And if any of those supplements that you got from the naturopathic doctor seem to indicate that they're going to hurt you, well, now you can take them back and sell them, get them back, get your money back for them. And that's the good thing about money back. The same can be done though at a health food store, though that's self-dispensing. Um, it would be interesting if our healthcare, all these natural supplements and healthcare stores had their own professionals in there that could dispense to people, even based upon ideas. They actually do. If you've ever walked into and soon you're going to go back to the realm of real health food stores again, because where you're moving to, they'll be like, you'll have a choice of them probably. And you go in there, the person who works the HABA section, that's the health and beauty aids. That's what HABA stands for. They'll have all kinds of interesting opinions. Um, that person who's being paid, what, $12 an hour or something like that to work in there. They were hired for doing various jobs, cashier or whatever like that. But then eventually they moved into Haba to like what's it called? Absurdly confusing method that these health food stores spread out their supplements, not A to Z. That would be rational. No, no, no. They're in various sections, based upon what ailment you're trying to treat, basically. Randomly all over the place.
Yeah.
Good marketing, by the way, because that gets people to look at more supplements and potentially buy more and pick more out, you know. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The same way as like, why do grocery stores and other big chains keep moving all their displays around? Yeah, to basically make sure that you're not going right to what you want or expecting to find. No, no, no. You're going all over the place trying to find what used to be here and is now over there, asking for help finding it. It gets, and then while on the way there, oh, look at that. I need those weights. I should buy those too. Oh, that's a nice shirt. It's $10. Okay. You know, so the same thing with supplements. That's the idea. But I like A to Z. I like alphabetical for looking up things, that's like rational, you know,
Yeah.
you know, like I don't need this like sleep section, like bullshit, like I can figure that out on my own. Thank you very much, please and thank you. Uh, you know,
Um, yeah, what are some personal experiences that you may have had in regards to treating yourself, and how have you overcome it?
uh, so in terms of effectively treating myself, then there's those parts where I've I've learned just like limit and reduce and remove all carbs and things get better. That was effective. And get out in the sun and to walk around on the grass barefoot and to get out to nature, and that made things better. To do the breathing work, the breath work, I go to YouTube channel Breathe with Sandy. That helps to make things better. Those were all like winners, like 100% winners. And I do remember just the whole thing as an adjective called being cavalier, just being too, um, I would say, just straight up self-confident to the point of, I guess, making mistakes and dispensing to myself, like, okay, I'm going to take this adrenal medicine. I'm going to take several of them to like then boost up the adrenal function and have energy, but without like taking caffeine, for example. I took the wrong ones, took too much of them, and had a serious stomach ache. I always felt really, really bad. And luckily, I had like a medical device to sort of counteract that, and I was able to help treat myself for that. So that was an example. Like I thought, oh, like I don't need to test this for myself. I don't need to do self-testing. Well, that was like basically like you got to get burned to learn sometimes. The burned hand teaches best is an expression. So, it's hot. Oh, it's still hot. You know, like that. You test the medicine if you know how to test it. Don't just get lazy and make an assumption that because it adds up well in your mind, it's going to add up well inside of your body. And the other one was where I took a B vitamin liquid supplement, and it's a strong one. It has actual niacin in it. Niacin is not in most B vitamin complexes. If you read your B vitamin complex or your B vitamin, it's going to say niacinamide because you can take niacinamide at absurd doses and have no bad effects from it. You take niacin, you take to a certain amount of it, and it's going to have an impact called a niacin flush. I highly recommend you might get some niacin and try it out, Victoria. Um, the proper dosage of it. And yeah, we'll get offline and I'll get you the correct one that I would suggest. But so the dosage for this like was one dropper full, or rather 30 drops, and it has a little delineated line on the dropper. So it's in a little eyedropper. And instead of taking 30 drops, I was like, no, more is better. I could take 60 drops, you know? And first I started having a stomach ache because niacin hits hard. And then the flush came on. So now I'm dealing with a stomach ache plus the flush, which is like redness here and the chest. It's like as if you're wearing an itchy wool sweater. That's what a niacin flush feels like. Down the arms, chest, face, turning red, you know, and it has various metabolic effects that are positive to have a niacin flush, but this was too much of a niacin dose. This, like, I now understand, like, you take 30 drops, you can slowly increase, going upwards towards 40, but you don't jump from 30 to 60, So that was an example of Just be accurate, and you have to test these things and know what you're doing. In the vitamin family, vitamin B3, I think, is the name. But yeah, it has a lot of like these things about the vital amines or vital aminos that they call vitamins, and they are an attempt at, like taking constituents from certain actual foods and then isolating them and purifying them, the pharmaceutical purification process, and then finding a practical application of it. Yeah, NAD is one that I'm going to be playing with very soon, and the senescence cells, that's the ones that need to die and get removed from the body as waste. There's a medicine that I'm planning to take for that one too, and that involves a little bit of fasting. I think for about a day of fasting. So I'll do that. Um, but yeah, that
Ooh,
it's good to know.
what do you recommend people do in regards to, should I say jabs? Um,
In regards to, say
yeah,
again?
if people would like to cleanse themselves from jabs,
Oh, the
vaccines.
jabs. Ah, yeah. Um, I think it's really good for people to be more precise and specific to what to cleanse from themselves rather than to say what needs to be cleansed
Mm,
from all of everyone who got a COVID vaccine or other vaccines in general.
yeah, good
Um,
point.
I think that it all does depend on what the toxins are like, for example, just had surgery 2 months ago. There were jabs involved. They're not vaccine jabs, but at this point, every injectable in the US and probably many other countries around the world are suspected of having nasty ingredients in their injectable medicine. Like that's part of what the industry has put into, sort of like putting microplastics into foods is putting like nasty ingredients into injectables. And what I would take to handle that would be different than what I would take to handle the client who I just saw 2 days ago here, and all of her symptoms happened after the series of vaccines for naturalization from Lithuania to America. And there were like a whole lot of reactions, and it was quite a long medical history, but it really, the big ones, the impact ones, started right there. I would say it's the usual, like, okay, there are heavy metals to remove. I think that that's a good thing. I think that there's like how one person removes heavy metals is different from how another person might choose to do it. Some people sauna would be really appropriate. Some people sauna not appropriate. Um, little bits of things like charcoal, almost everyone can do to like grab onto and bind to toxins through the intestinal layer. If you have money, if you're blessed with income and or like savings, you could go to the best way of removing heavy metals and toxins. That's intravenous chelation therapy. The substance is called EDTA, or to use the phonetics, Echo, Delta, Thomas, Alpha. That would be like my NATO phonetics are not good. Maybe you got good
Tango.
at that. Uh,
Tango for
Tango.
Thomas.
Oh,
But
Tango.
you're close.
Yeah. Echo, Delta, Tango, Alpha. Right?
Oh yeah.
Does it start with Alpha?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. That's alphabet. Yeah. So EDTA is a chelating binding substance. So it goes through intravenously, and you'd be doing a series of 10 of these. And during the chelation, during the intravenous time, EDTA is circulating around the bloodstream everywhere, everywhere. Blood-brain barrier, I think, through everything. So all the major organs, brain, heart, liver, etc., everywhere. And everywhere that the EDTA goes, if there's a toxin like mercury or lead, it's going to attach onto that. It's going to attach onto it in a way that clumps around it. So now it's an inert substance. Like now it was lead or it was mercury as an example, but now it's covered in EDTA, which is biocompatible mostly and just harmless to the body. So then it just gets excreted, urine. It goes out that way.
Wow.
Or later on, if you take a sauna, sweat, or some of it feces, but that's the way it goes out. And you just keep doing that. And you take a urinalysis before and to see what's in there. And you take urinalysis after your courses of EDTA intravenous, also known as chelation therapy. That's what I'd point most people to do. It comes down to money. If you've had the jabs, what can you afford to do? Can you afford to hire me? Can you afford to hire a naturopath who uses IV chelation therapy? Can you afford to go to a chiropractor who will do all the types of muscle testing to figure out what to do first, second, third, etc.? Can you can you afford $10 to get some charcoal capsules? What can you afford to do? That's the questions. Everyone is an individual case. And if you don't really know what the toxins are, specific, like the biggest toxin load, the bioburden, then that's the first question is to solve that. You need to figure out what to really do. This is changing the mindset from everyone with jabs all needs to take nattokinase to everyone with jabs is your opportunity to figure out what are the toxin problems and what are the deficiency problems specific to you and take care of that. Guess what? That's the same thing you'd say to anyone who didn't have the jabs too. It is the same thing, the answer is the same. Find out, either become the medical professional or find and hire the medical professional. Or
Mhm.
just do a crappy job of it. Just maybe you go to church and pray. I don't know. Um, I've I've been there. I've seen them. Um,
That's
there's
a
a lot
method.
that can be done with intention and prayer. Some people are better at it than others. I think this is why I like the profound experiences spiritually. That's a different show.
Oh, totally.
Because yeah, that's a different one.
Spiritual prayer?
Yeah, I think adding everything into the equation is important. Um, yeah, it's a world of toxins. I think that me and Dr. Andrew Kaufman and others are all waiting to see examples of evidence of spike proteins, like really solid evidence that show that that's a component of it. Evidence of graphene oxide and other toxins in jabs like the COVID vaccine, that's already been done. Like, so that's a toxin. So now we have like that little type of electromagnetic, tropic, strange little toxin that's in there. What would I try to do about that? I'm not exactly sure, but I would probably, like I said, I would be aiming for what tier of detoxing can a person do, and what are the nutritional deficiencies, and how do we approach those? So I do often throw a lot of B vitamins at people because it's easy to absorb. It's frequently biocompatible to most people. It goes along with their religion of their diet. For example, like the, devotees of Hare Krishna, you know, it's vegetarian. It has nothing to do with eating organ extracts. I love organ extracts because that's a straight up medicine. Beef liver extract, like
Cod liver
and
oil.
then of course the fish oils. Yeah, like I'm a big fan of these. They absorb better if you can take the effective enzymes, the digestive enzymes that are appropriate to them. They go along with that. There's a little piece of data there. So there's the two things that all of Chinese medicine has ever shown and taught me is you treat the deficiency and you treat the toxicity. This never changed. So
Hmm.
everything is the same. It's deficiency and toxicity and how you're going to deal with it.
Interesting. It's
Fun.
fascinating.
For absorbing fats in general, the enzyme is called lipase, and lipase.
Oh,
And digestive enzyme formulas have lipase in them, and some of them have more lipase than others. Some of them are heavy on the lipase. And so people can have, if you've had your gallbladder removed, if you have deficiency in the function of your gallbladder, if you've had other types of toxicity, you might have less of an ability to handle fats and digest them properly. And that's why people sometimes they think they have a dairy allergy. The reality is they have damage to the function of making bile in their gallbladder and damage to the liver. And so they're just not able to make the proper enzymes like they did when they were a kid to actually assimilate the fats in dairy. That it wasn't even the dairy part wasn't the problem, it was the fat part. For some people, there's other things. They need more protease, the protein digesting enzyme. For some, they need more amylase, the carbohydrate digesting enzyme. A standard digestive enzyme has all three, and there's other enzymes that they'll throw in, ones that reduce inflammation, like serrapeptase. That's the one that little kids have serrapeptase, like tons of it. That's why they don't scar when they get scrapes and cuts and things as much. But old people have less serrapeptase in them. So that's why you make scar tissue. Scar tissue is not just on the surface, it's also in ripped muscles and other internal injuries. Scar tissue can form. That's why if you get a deep tissue massage, it'll be painful if you have more scar tissue and just feels good for the rest of you amazing people who somehow managed to navigate life with less internal scar tissue and damages. I don't know how the hell you did that. But good for you. You know,
I've got, um, I think these two would be great to wrap up this final video. I think it'll do well in taking the time. What is your target audience in regards to your clients? The one that I'll ask after this one is just your overall message to the listeners.
my target clientele is I want to for sure help people who are around the world, but especially in the US, because it's easier for me to research for them to find them effective holistic healthcare options, like everything we mentioned in the show today. To navigate from where they are, to isolate their health goals, to find them effective professionals and get them there. And I can help the most number of people that way. That's why I'm writing the book on it of how to do it themselves, essentially, how to find these professionals themselves, how to interview them, how to go ahead and go through the process. This is like my ideal. I just like to have more and more people doing that for my show, not medical advice. It's just more of the same of going through that, to inspire them that they have the optimism, that they can do it, that to disconnect disempowering statements like I've tried everything or there's nothing that can be done, that are disempowering bullshit nonsense like that, that they're just parroting words that came from other people and they're speaking, someone else is using their mouth to speak and say disempowering things, you know. And now they're going along with it. I'd like to have people unplug from that. That's what my show is trying to aim for and do that. So that they first, what the goals are. Say it in the negative because that's what you're used to doing. You're used to saying what you're complaining about. Now say it in the positive, how you want it to really function, how you want to really feel, how you want your days to really go. And then it's about finding the professionals that will get there. And for sure, I would really, really like to look at the whole thing. That like health is not just the food, water, drugs, and it's the lifestyle. Is the person, this has to add up to what that a person is actually engaged in a life that is fulfilling, that they have meaning and purpose, that they have achievements plural, that they have connection, they have harmony, that they like their setting where they're at. You know, having just spent some time in the desert, that's rough. That's a rough setting. I'll visit there, but I don't want to live there really. I don't really want to. This is where I want to live. This is it. You know, this is ideal human Daryl temperature. This is perfect for me. So that's, it's gonna be a tough sell for me to move from here. I love this place. I've developed everything I want here. The same kind of thing for people's health. That is what I want to deliver to them. And I know that's like helping the maximum number of people, like through the show, through the book, through the website, to get people to be empowered and find solutions to get from where they are to where they want to be, to even figure out what that exactly looks like and sounds like where they want to be. And to really, like to use these empowering tools that we have now, these research tools. I love using AI right now to research for myself. There's so much that can be done to get to the goals. And people who have chronic healthcare problems, but they know that trusting the wrong professionals is probably how they got there in the first place, or is dangerous for sure, especially for big, like very scary sounding diseases like the cancer and diabetes and Parkinson's, etc. Um, let's go dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. Those are the scary ones for people, but also for the less scary ones that are just chronically inflamed and in pain, or where their lifestyle has become impaired. People where they could become an athlete, but because they're dealing with so much inflammation, they are in no way going to be an athlete right now. And I'd like to get them to from where they are to where they'd like to be. Lots of them. I'd like to help lots of people this way.
You're truly an inspiration, Daryl. Just want to put that out there. Your brain is very obviously large, but I can tell you have a large heart as well. So I'm glad. Like, it's good
Thank
to
you.
see that. It's good to see that. It's not everywhere. It's not everywhere. Not everyone
It's
truly
it's
cares.
normal size,
It's large. It's a good large, not the
but
Pandora's
if
box
it
I
went
want to
up to
live in.
here,
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, overall message for the community. Any other thoughts? Any last thoughts that you have?
sure. Last message I'd give is to start with a little seed of optimism that I'm planting right now. I've had health problems. Victoria's had health problems. We found ways to make things better. Different ways, different paths, but we found different ways. You can find your path. That's right there. I'm saying there are ways to find a path. And for sure, can go and use my secret email, voluntaryvisions@gmail.com. That's that's the way I hide under that name there. And can reach out directly. Just mention this show, mention Victoria, and I'll give you a free 15-minute consultation. I'm here to help, at least point a direction. We start off, here's what I could do for free, here's what I could do for a fee. And there's various levels of what can be done. There's always hope to be had for getting from where you are to where you want to be. It's, I think that the miracle of symptoms is that they're there as the body trying to make things better. The double-edged sword of that is how painful and discouraging it can be to experience these symptoms. Pain, inflammation, like other things like my runny nose as a teenager, your headaches back then, like there's like so many symptoms that happen. It's all the body just trying to fix things. That's the interesting thing. It's just really uncomfortable. All the mucus and fever and phlegm and the even the shutting down of taste and smell in people as symptoms that became really popular in people's minds recently. Yeah, that's been going on for thousands of years to help of the body trying to remove toxins with phlegm and mucus, to shut down toxins coming in by making it so that you don't want to eat or drink things that aren't water, and to help like inspire the body to just do things that are healthy. You can do that. Everyone's I would say you got this, but you might need help. So that's what I come in, you know. Either become the professional or hire one. There you go.
May I may I ask you a little bit about your book? Are,
Sure.
and then also, I do have a segment in the podcast where I review books. So
Oh,
I'm reviewing Women Who Run with the Wolves. Would you be down if I reviewed your book when you?
yeah, yeah. I will finish the book, get it to you, and we'll go over the book. But in a nutshell, Not Medical Advice is about building an effective medical team of professionals, knowing how to find them, knowing how to interview them, and how to work with them to achieve your health goals. That's the elevator pitch. The deeper version, there'll be chapters in here about obviously some of the dangers of trusting the wrong doctors, especially the licensed medical doctors or MDs. They're the they are the number one, two, and three cause of death in America and many other countries. That the death toll pushing past 500,000 deaths per year. When you add up everything that they do in the way they diagnose, I would say dangerous and deadly diagnostic methods, and of course, extra dangerous, extra deadly treatment methods for heart disease, cancer, and a lot of other things together, that makes up about more than 500,000 deaths of caused by doctors who are just following the rules. So they're following what they were taught to do. That's a danger. Trusting the wrong person in this life is a danger. We both have been through that. Oh, we trusted the wrong people. Um, but yeah, this is where it gets extremely much more dangerous than the wrong roommate is, the wrong medical professional. That's a lot more dangerous. You could end up dead or having amputations or worse, like that. But there's all kinds of problems like that. And yeah, for sure, just to go into, how to build a effective medical team, how to find them, and what they all do, to know what these professionals do, to go into depth of a little bit of that. Yeah, I just would like to empower people to like literally like find answers to that. I have a stack of books behind the computer here of all this DIY stuff, but one of them, um, I'm going to pull this book out. I think it's important. Um, I still recommend this book. Got more expensive recently. Alternative Medicine, The Definitive Guide. And there are a lot of authors to make this book, but um, Burton Goldberg is one of the main authors of this one. And the first half of the book goes into all these modalities of treatment, like including, from acupuncture all the way through, naturopathic medicine, nutritional supplements, sound therapy, yoga, acupuncture to yoga. And some of them are for professionals, like chelation therapy. That's a, intravenous kind of thing. And some of them, like water fasting, that's a DIY thing. And the second part of the book is all the conditions, all the medical conditions, common ones, and the methods that are used to repair them, both professional and DIY. Um, it's a good book, you know. It's thick, uh,
Huge.
and it's it's a good beginning component to see how many options for you out there. I appreciate your diligence of editing. I'm I'm gonna try to do that in my future shows. But it was really great to talk with you.
It was great to talk with you, Daryl. This was an amazing episode. Amazing. I learned so much. I really hope the listener takes a lot of great things for them. And if they need help, if they are looking for a medical professional, I hope that, you know, that they consider you. Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be in touch, and I hope to see clips of this on the TikTok.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Daryl, for your time here and have a wonderful rest of your day and wishing you well with your client.